Hey everybody, today is Thursday, March 9th, and we're excited to present Breezy's pups to you. They are 5 weeks old, and that is the age that we consider them to be selectable, meaning they've been old enough for long enough that we've been able to see their personalities. And so we're gonna share our observations with you and tell you all about them. Today is not the warmest of warm days, but it is warm enough that these guys can get out and play and have fun. But as soon as they get tuckered out and want to slow down, then I can probably predict that they're gonna act a little bit cold. So they might be shivering a little bit. Today is like the mid-50s, which is not a bad temperature for a dog at all. But for young pups that are used to being in the nice warm house, you know, when they slow down and want to lay down and take a nap here in a minute, then they're probably going to be a little bit shivery. And honestly, we kind of anticipate some of that. We actually have some patio heaters. But last Friday, as many of you guys experienced, we had some pretty nasty storms blow through, and our patio heaters took a beating. So they're a little bit out of commission at the moment. We're going to leave those alone, and we'll do the best we can with what we have with the pups here today. So this is the first time these pups have been up here to the pavilion, and you can kind of follow Willow's litter. I'll kind of leave that video to explain why we bring the pups up here for the first time for their pick video. It just gives us a chance to put them in a completely new environment and see how they behave, and which ones are a little bit more of a mama's girl or a mama's boy, and which ones are a little bit more confident and able to handle the sudden change of environment quickly, and how resilient they are and kind of how fast they bounce back from being in a new environment and everything else. So these pups are just going to be playing away and having a blast. I'm going to do some footage of them playing, and I apologize. We've had some battery problems on the GoPro camera, and so I'm limping along with an external battery pack tethered to the GoPro with a USB cord. So I apologize if that cord kind of hinders me or if it gets in any of the shots. I'll try to do my best to keep that out, but I didn't know I was having GoPro problems, battery problems, until just this second. So I had to kind of regroup and figure something out, because we need to get this video put together. We have people who are waiting to pick their pups. So this just needed to happen. So I'll stop talking and we'll get the video of the pups playing and having a blast. So the pups have been playing long enough, they're just starting to slow down and fall asleep at my feet here. And it's not super late in the day, but it's late enough in the day that it's gonna cool off if the sun gets down much farther, or if I get any more clouds to cover up the sun. So as you can see, these pups are ready to snuggle up and cuddle up and get warm. And so we're gonna just move on with the personality observations. So got a couple of them that are wanting back in the crate to head back. Huh, Miss Gray? Yes. And some of them that are just hanging out here. So I'm gonna start with the girls and give you kind of a bird's eye view of personalities. So Miss Teal is kind of, out of the girls, established herself as kind of one of the more confident, assertive ones. She's the most comfortable in a new environment and confident. And Miss Purple is kind of right behind her, a close second. And so Miss Purple, you know, she's has a vigorous personality as well and confident. And then we've got kind of third and fourth is Pink and Yellow, right there neck and neck. And then Miss Gray, a little bit more of a mama's girl. If you can't tell, we've got Gray and Purple back here, hoping to hop back in the crate, back to mama, back to some familiar settings. And so anyway, so that's the girls, just kind of a bird's eye view of their hierarchy amongst themselves within their litter mates and their siblings. Of the boys, Mr. Brown and Mr. Red, they are kind of neck and neck for wanting to be leader of the pack and kind of being top dog and the more confident, assertive ones. The roles that they take in their play time and things like that. They're trying to establish themselves as leaders. And so, and then kind of at the bottom of the totem pole for the boys is Mr. Blue. You probably noticed he's a little bit more mild, not wild, and likes to eat and sleep and kind of relax a little bit more than some of the others. And then light blue and orange are kind of in the middle. So we've got red and brown kind of near the top of the pack, dark blue bringing up the rear, and then in between all of those is light blue and orange. They're kind of right in the middle of all of their litter mates. So middle of the range type personalities. So I'm missing one more. Oh, here she comes. Miss Gray coming to join the party over here. So, sorry, I've got the cable in the way here. So these pups are all just going to crash right here, which is exactly what I've been waiting for. I want them to kind of be tuckered out and tired and ready to hold still for the camera. So next I will just pick them up one by one and tell you about their weight and let you see them up close. Let them have their 15 minutes of fame in front of the camera and just tell you a little bit about them. And so we'll start with that next. Let me just move the camera here and reposition it. So I've got my notes ready for us. And so we're just going to start with the girls first. And I'm going to work at the top of my notes and work our way down. Miss Purple here, she's actually laying on top of everybody. So Miss Purple at birth was 0.81 pounds, and right now she's 4.78 pounds. And so just kind of right in the middle as far as size for the girls in amongst her siblings. And so at birth we noted she had a very slight neck marking. I'm going to tip her back and let you see on her neck. We can see just a few hairs there. And then she had very slight groin marking. And honestly, at this age, their puppy coat, their birth coat is quite different from this coat that they have right now. And their adult coat is going to come in kind of after this one. And so this puppy coat, they are very bald on their tummies and their hair is thinner, things like that. So some of their markings are not as vibrant at this age because of that. So sometimes it's going to be hard to see some of those. So you can refer back to their birth videos to get a better idea of some of their markings that may be more evident when their adult coat comes in. So anyways, her very slight groin marking is not even apparent whatsoever right now. And she still has her back right toes looking somewhat frosted, not a very bright marking or vibrant marking, but that is the adorable Miss Purple and her markings. So look at her, she's just kind of looking at the camera, almost like you know what to do to look at the camera, huh? Yeah, okay, now I'll put you back with your siblings and you can go back to sleep. Okay, so Miss Pink, she is next, and I get a disturb the sleeping beauty here and wake her from her slumber. So at birth, Miss Pink was 0.88 pounds, and right now she is 4.82 pounds, and that puts her at second place amongst the girls for her litter and size. And I will kind of tip her back. We noticed at birth she had a very slight neck marking, which is still barely apparent right now. She had a very slight chest mark, which is barely apparent right now. She had a groin marking, which is not apparent right now. And her back left toes were very lightly frosted. And then her back right toes were more heavily marked. So let me try to get, sorry, maybe I should tilt the camera or change. We'll call it good like this. Because you can see their head better when I hold them like that. And that is what matters most, huh? So that is Miss Pink, and just an adorable, sweet gal. And she's a little bit cold. Can you see her shaking? Oh, I'll get this camera out of here, and we will get you back to the warmer home in just a minute. So Miss Gray, we'll go to her next. So Miss Gray at birth was 0.72 pounds, the smaller one at birth, and right now she's 4.29 pounds, and so she is actually fourth place of the girls for size. Not the last, but she was the smallest at birth, so she's moved up a spot. And at birth, she had a very slight chest marking. I'll tip her back. And honestly, her chest marking is basically indiscernible. I can just see a couple thinner spots in her coat where you can see her skin, so that makes it look like a marking, but it's not. So her very slight chest marking is not evident at the moment, and her toe markings are, so her back left and back right toes has some lightly frosted toe tips there, and that is the adorable Miss Gray. I feel like I should talk with an English accent when I say, that is Miss Gray, huh? Got some sleepy in your eyes, huh? So she's all tuckered out, ready to go take a nap with her siblings. So next we've got Miss Yellow coming up. I will pull her out of the puppy pile. Gives a whole new meaning to the definition of doggy pile when you see these guys trying to take a nap when they're slightly cool. They want to all just pile up. So Miss Yellow at 0.99 pounds at birth was the biggest of the girls. She continues to be the biggest. She is 5.18 pounds. And at birth we noted a very slight neck marking, and that is still somewhat visible but not very visible. There's just a couple of spots right here. The thinner parts of the fur, you can see their skin, so that makes it look like a marking. but it's not. But on her, there are some lighter hairs that are still apparent there on her neck. And then her chest continues to look clear. And then we are still seeing her back left toes that were marked. And then now that she's older, we can see some back right frostings, hairs on her back right foot. So both feet are marked, so that's a little bit more apparent now than it was at birth. And that is the adorable Miss Yellow. Next, we've got Miss Teal coming up. And, oh, I know, gives us a little groan when I pick her up. She protests a little bit when I have to wake you up, huh? Sorry about that. So at birth, Miss Teal was 0.83 pounds, and she is the smallest currently out of all the pups at 4.01 pounds. She's not a runt, but 4 pounds is at the lower end of average for pups of her age that we're used to seeing with all of our litters over the years. So between 4 and 5 pounds is the average, and so we have had some under 4 pounds on a few occasions. Those are very small pups, and she is just on the small end of normal. So not a runt, not abnormally small, but smallest out of this litter. So she continues to look solid. We've looked her over again and not seeing hardly any new markings. There may be, and it might be just be the light, there might be a few lighter hairs on the very end of some of her toes, but that might just be the lighting. And then we're not seeing any new markings on her chest or neck that we couldn't see before. So that is Miss Teal. So pretty close to solid on her. And unless some of these toe hairs end up being white, she's pretty well solid from what we can tell. So that is Miss Teal. Next, we've got the boys, Mr. Red. And I'm just going to pause before I start the boys and show you our puppy pile again. So here they are. Got these guys, Miss Teal. She'll lay down here in a second. So we got Mr. Orange, Mr. Brown. Over here is Mr. Blue. Over here, Miss Purple, light blue. So this dark blue, light blue is over here. Teal's climbing in on top. Mr. Red, Mr. Yellow, Miss Gray, and Miss Pink. So that is what you call a doggy pile right there. So next we're moving on to the boys. So Mr. Red at birth was 0.68 pounds, and currently he is 4.71 pounds. So that puts him at kind of 4th place out of the boys for size. And so at 4.71, he's 4th place for boys out of this litter. And we still note that he had his marking on his chest. And we can still see that. That's quite distinct and vibrant, so that will remain. So his groin marking that we noted before is indiscernible at the moment. I am seeing right now some very lightly back left frosted toes on Mr. Red. And his back right toes, there's just barely a few light hairs on him, so he may have some frosted toe tips for as his adult coat comes in. So that is Mr. Red. Next we've got Dark Blue, and he's been the Mr. Mellow of today's video. He probably had a big lunch and had already been playing. By the time we got him up here, he just wanted to sack out and sleep. He wasn't very lively for this video, but he is still nonetheless a Vizsla and will have a good energy level just like all of the others as he grows up. So he is kind of number 5 on the personality group, kind of lower end of the totem pole. But at birth, he was one of the big pups. He was 0.9 pounds at birth. And right now he's 4.62 pounds. So he's not the smallest out of the litter, but he's the smallest out of the boys. And I'll tip him back here and just note that his very slight neck marking is basically indiscernible. I'm just seeing some thin spots in his coat from and seeing his skin. I'm not seeing any markings, but that very slight neck marking may come back with his adult coat. He does continue to have kind of his long chest marking that's more vibrant and continues to be obvious. And then we noted that he had markings on his back left and back right toes, and those are still noticeable. They're not super heavy markings, but they're just notable and easy to spot at this age with his coat condition and this state of life. So that is Mr. Dark Blue. Next we've got Mr. Light Blue, and I will pull him out of the pile. Okay, Mr. Light Blue coming up. So at birth he was one of the 0.9 pounds, and right now he's 4.87 pounds. So he is 3rd place for size out of the boys of his litter mates. And he had one of the forehead markings of the puppies. His was the lightest at birth, and I can't see it right now. So his light forehead marking is indiscernible at this age with this coat. I'm just seeing his puppy wrinkles. I'll try to get him close to the camera here. I don't know if that'll focus or not. I'm just seeing the puppy wrinkles on his forehead, and I see skin before I see any light markings on his forehead. But I'm going to venture to say that as his adult coat comes in, that little, very slight forehead marking will probably be manifest at different times, depending on it, if it comes with his winter coat or something like that. Vizslas don't really get a winter coat, but their coat will thicken up somewhat in the winter time, and they do shed kind of in the summertime. So that marking may come with that later on. So Light Blue, he had his very slight neck marking, and I can see that. I can see some white hairs right there. So that is still manifesting, obvious, and I'll try to get him closer here for his chest marking. He had kind of that arrow-shaped chest marking, and that's still visible right now. And then his slight groin marking is not discernible right now, but he had, very fun, heavily marked back left and back right toes. His markings are very vibrant. So that is Mr. Light Blue. Oh, so handsome pup. All of them are handsome. So next we've got Mr. Orange. We'll go through. You're okay. Oh, you're okay. I startled you. I'm sorry. Oh my goodness. I woke him up, and I don't know if you heard it, his paws hit the edge of this patio heater right here that I've got, and kind of made a tapping sound. And as I picked him up, that just threw him for a loop. Sorry about that. That really startled you. I'm sorry. You're okay. Yeah, you're okay. Just give him some love for a minute, and let you settle back in. Oh, yes. Yeah, I think you're gonna be just fine. Not too traumatic at all. So Mr. Orange, at birth, he was 0.9 pounds. And he was one of the ones that had the forehead marking, and that's still manifest. You can see that on him if you look close. And then, so at 0.9 pounds at birth, he was 5.33 pounds as of today. So he is second place for size amongst the boys in this litter. And so he had the forehead marking that you can probably see in the camera if you look close in the right light. And then he had the heavy neck marking, which is still manifest right now. And then he had the more vibrant, bold chest marking right here. And his groin marking is somewhat apparent right now. So I can see a few hairs, light hairs there. And he had his heavily marked, very vibrant back left and back right toes. Super obvious markings there. And then right now, as we're looking, I can barely see a few light hairs on a couple of front toes. Front right and front left. Barely some light markings. Marked hairs there. So that is the so rudely awakened Mr. Orange, and just as handsome as can be as well. And last but not least, we've got Mr. Brown, and I will pick him up. So Mr. Brown. So this is our adorable Mr. Brown. He was one of the pups that had the forehead marking. His is not as vibrant as it used to look before, but still apparent right there. And at birth, he was 0.94 pounds, so the biggest out of the bunch, and he continues to be the biggest by just a little bit. He is 5.53 pounds. So he had his forehead marking and his very slight neck marking is still apparent. I can see a few light hairs there. And then he had his big, bold badge right on his chest. Big, broad marking there. So we've seen that in the past with many Vizslas, and he wears that mark of distinction there, just like many others of other generations have. So he has his groin marking, and I can see some lighter color hairs there, so he'll continue to have that. And then his back left and back right toes are still the vibrant marked toes. And then I'm not seeing any markings on his front left or front right toes. So last but not least, this finishes up the up close and camera shots of the boy pups and all of Breezy's pups. So we're excited to let you see them up close, and we will kind of chase the daylight here and finish up this video and get that processed and out to everybody. And let us know if you have any more questions about these pups. They're just doing wonderful. We're excited how well they're doing, and we know that you will enjoy any one of them. And obviously we're biased and feel like you can't go wrong with any of these pups. And the wonderful thing about a Vizsla is they are so intelligent that you can really create the personality that you're after in your pup. Obviously there's conditioning, training, socializing required to achieve the pup that you're after and have them be the lifelong companion that you've been hoping for. But all of these pups will suit their families well in all three of those categories. So let us know if you have any questions, and we'll wrap up this video. Thanks for watching.